Hey guys, Tommy Carrigan with Tommy Untamed. We've got a great show coming up. Thank you for watching. With the one and only Mr. Jeff Prather, and I just saw him on. You posted on Facebook the other day, hold up your arms. You got some guns.
68 years
There
old.
you go. There you go. Yeah, no excuse. Truly, no excuse. When you hear that, well, I'm in my 30s now. I'm not 18 anymore. Just shut up. I have to say that to myself. I'm 34. I'm legit. I'm 34, and I can hear the little voice in my head sometimes in the gym be like, "Well, you're not 18 anymore," and I have to be like, "Shut up! Legitimately, shut up! Go put your face in a litter box. Like, shut
There
up."
there was a 90-year-old Normandy paratrooper who just made the jump again. So I'm like, okay, I gotta ante up and kick in because
Well,
half of these bionic. So
yeah. Well, then yeah, and what was Billy Waugh? Billy Waugh's going into
Billy
Afghanistan.
Waugh.
Yeah, he's leather faced, turban,
Yeah.
silenced MP5, and he's like
Yep.
he's like 80. You're like, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, no, I gotta shut up. So I'd say that alone is the advertisement for following Christ and being a good person is your soul doesn't rot from the inside out like an apple. Like I think a lot of the demons from hell are doing. But everybody, you can go to the description. You can find his podcast. You can find all of his websites. But you were just saying beforehand that Trump is not, and again, for future listeners, it's May 2025. I always put that on there because sometimes you start listening to a show and you're like, when was it? And you find out it's 2019. You're like, oh, well, can you said he's not properly or thoroughly or whatever enunciating what you said the three wars are.
Yeah, I don't think people are understanding what Trump's doing. I don't think they understand the wars that he has declared and are in. I don't think they are appreciating his truce and treaties. And so there's basically, when he got back in, he declared three new wars. He declared a war on the cartels by making them FTOs, foreign terrorist organizations. That unleashed the DoD, particularly SOCOM and JSOC. And under the previous Trump administration, allegedly there were special forces and SEALs operating inside Mexico. Now, I operated inside Mexico as a DEA agent, also clandestinely as a DIA intelligence officer, but DOD soldiers were never allowed in Mexico overtly. Now, that has happened overtly under Trump. My old group, Seven Special Forces, went down there to do a basic training mission, but that was probably just a liaison mission. I assess that there are now more special operations troops training, working, and leading Mexican units, and they just got a Sinaloa cartel leader. Mexican army just hit him. That smacks of Delta doing a covert operation and giving them credit, because unlike Six and the SEALs, Delta does low profile stuff and gives it to other people to have credit, including the SEALs,
Yeah,
including
yeah.
Six. So the FTO war is underway, and that's good. It has to happen. It's going to be more violence in America because they are embedded and infested in America, and there will be war fighting in there, and it could be DoD, and it could be tier one units and Delta operating within, because
Domestically.
domestically, because
Wow.
of the foreign terrorist organization designation, but it will be labeled as FBI HRT or SWAT or something like that, and it'll be labeled as law enforcement shootings. So that's
Oh,
so, or you may not hear about it at all, but
yeah.
there's going to be a lot more violence in America because they are not going to give up their embedded positions at all. Now, they're going to try and play nice because they want to keep the business rolling. So they're not going to do stupid Zeta stuff in America, but inevitably they'll screw things up. And I think you can already see an uptick in drug violence in America. So that's the first war that's happening, and that's my assessment, CONUS and OCONUS, of what's happening there. And then further down, we're going to see it go down as it should, down through Central America to South America, RFK is suddenly pushing that out by making an allegiance with Argentina against the WHO, which Trump has left, and is making possibly some kind of new health arrangement with Argentina, saying we're not going to do all these vaccines and big pharma stuff. And so RFK is the guy to watch after for POTUS after Trump, because he's transformed HHS into this diplomatic international alliance building to South America. And of course, Trump has done a very good job in Panama, renegotiating. I spent a lot of time all over Panama, back in the day. And he did that because there were lots of Chinese ununiformed troops running lots of parts of the canal. And now he is fighting back against that. So taking back the essential ground in Central and South America, we've got to have influence there. And in my day, we did, because in the 80s I was PSYOPs and SF. In the 90s I was DEA and DIA there. We've got to have a footprint there, regardless. And so that's happening. And so the first war, the cartel war, is going pretty well, but it's going to be decades for that war. At least it's a long-term war for sure. And so before I go on, I'll let you jump in if you have questions on or comments on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say for the first one, yeah, I remember Dale saying he was like, yeah, Dale's like, I remember doing things that we gave credit to the SEALs for. I also remember asking Dale years, it might have been 2020 during all the riots. I asked him, I was like, what would happen like if they like somehow broke into the White House and held people hostage? Would it be HRT? And he went, no, it would be Delta, and they would just call it HRT. So I mean that's from Dale's math, and yeah, I feel like that would make sense. Is yeah, you'd absolutely. It would be very yeah, it'd be very hard to believe. It'd be like, do you hear those like Keystone cops? Swept that whole compound and dunced everyone in 30 seconds. Like, yeah, I guess they were good. Like, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
no, Dale's exactly right. In fact, HRT, and I used to hang out with HRT. In fact, I knew Lon Horiuchi, the infamous sniper that murdered the Ruby Ridge wife
mhm.
holding the baby. HRT is not that good. And although their selection process now kind of mirrors Delta, and they're not that big. If there's one major high rise taken, it would use up all of HRT. They
Yeah,
couldn't hold it. Delta has problems with their multiple squadrons. That's why they have the Rangers, do the perimeters, and that's why the selection is now, it's not Ranger SF Delta anymore. It's Ranger Delta, because they're always hanging out now. But it would clearly be, Delta. And the other difference between, I'm sure Dale said this many times, but people are like 6 Delta, clearly Delta. They're much better gunfighters, everything. They're also unilateral. They can do everything on their own. They're completely independent. 6 has to have support, and 6 is great in the water, but they're not
sure.
that great anywhere else. And of course, I've been doing a lot of shows on showing, how they have stolen valor from Chapman, and Luttrell was all lying, and a lot of that. And Big Navy has backed, a lot of that. Um,
You almost wonder if it's like, well, then how come they haven't ballooned up HRT? You almost wonder if like HRT is sort of just like a placeholder. If it ever really gets hot, they'll just bring in anyone else, but they'll just call it HRT, and it's sort of we just accept. We go, oh yeah, it's HRT. It's like whatever happens domestically, you can credibly and believably just say, oh, it's the FBI. Oh, we wouldn't know. We'd have no idea. And before we
I
jump,
don't want the HRT coming in,
no, 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 no.
HRT was, at Waco. I
Yeah,
was in firearms school when Waco went down. Now there were Delta observers. People have mistakenly said Delta hit the Waco compound. I do not believe that. I've seen the reports where they were outing ATF and HRT for not doing op orders ahead of time, and not having a plan. Uh, I don't think they were. I don't know for sure,
sure.
but having worked with both, the ethical, moral standards of Delta far exceed 6 SEALs and FBI HRT.
Oh
In
yeah.
my mind, there's no comparison.
Oh yeah. No, no, for sure. But the the existence of an HRT or something provides the plausible cover. You can
Oh
just
yeah,
write it off. You go, oh, that was
sure.
HRT. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, sure.
and then yeah, if you're the cartels, you're obviously gonna fight back, but you're not gonna go crazy because Trump will straight up carpet bomb Mexico, and I think they know that. If I were them, I would just outweigh Trump because wouldn't you hope to just sort
Yeah,
of break the will of the next president? Trump gives
yeah,
a war order, sure. Yeah, and the next president comes in and goes, it's no longer in the interest of national security. Do you think
sure.
that's probably what's going to happen?
Yeah, yeah, but there will be skirmishes because DOJ and DOD in particular are focused on that. I mean, that's how I back in the 80s is when it was the war on drugs. So for me to be a DEA credential agent and a DIA, credentialed intelligence officer was kind of ideal because all the money was pouring in. You're going to see money now pour in for the FTO war. And so everybody's going to want to get a piece of that. But that's really DOD and SOCOM and JSOC that are going to run most of that. But they're oriented towards the money. These big agencies go where the money is.
Maybe that might be the move. It's cynical, but the move might be make the financial incentive for for killing all the cartel members bigger than the financial incentive for allowing the drugs in and kickback. I mean, that might be the way to do it. Put a bigger have Raytheon have interests in killing them. That might dwarf, whatever CIA operation is, wanting to, was it Gary Marshall or yeah, no, Gary Webb, the guy that wrote the book about bringing all the cocaine into L.A. But so I don't because my own just I just go off on tangents. First would be FTOs for cartels, foreign terror organization. Next, you're saying RFK using HHS as sort of an international alliance
Well,
building.
that's all just the FTO. That's all I've said. That's just the
That's all one.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I thought that
the
was one and two. There, well, that's why
no,
I
and
have you
so
on is to you guide me.
so and also I'd say SF right now, because that's my background, is being underutilized and misused. There's a lot of complaints now. And I think that's because they were so effective right after 9/11 that they beat the Taliban so quickly that they've been sidelined. But there is a big mission in Mexico because there are whole provinces that have rebelled against the traffickers. And that would be a perfect UW.
Hmm.
Technically, it's FID for internal development, but really it's UW because it's cartel controlled. Because Mexico is a failed state run by cartels, so this perfect UW mission. Does anybody have the balls to really do that and deploy SF like they should be? Because look, we deployed them to Afghanistan halfway around the world. How hard would it be to deploy them south? How hard would
Yeah,
resupply be? And not hard at all. But do they have the political will and daring to do something like that? There's plenty of in that there's plenty. It's easy. Latin American speakers in special in seventh group, and Hispanic guys. There's plenty. When it's Urdu or Pashtun or something, that's tough. That's a real mission, and it could evolve to that. And I'd like to see that happen because I think SF has been sidelined by JSOC direct action. And white soft UW or FID is in the long run much more effective, in my view, than black DA stuff.
UW unconventional warfare, unrestricted
Yeah,
warfare. Okay,
unconventional warfare.
all
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what SF is supposed to do and doesn't get to really do, much. But anyway, second big war and probably where Trump has been most successful is his tariff war. And really, the tariff war was just really about China, in my view. And it was really the first and only counter to China's unrestricted warfare doctrine that they initiated 20 years ago after watching us win the first Gulf War so fast. The two Chinese Air Force colonels watching us win said nobody can beat the Americans head on. They're not they're undefeatable kinetically, so we're not going to try. We're going to do everything but kinetically. And so we're going to take over their economy. We're going to take over their manufacturing. We're going to take over their schools, universities, their scientists. And that's what they did. A CCP professor Ping in 2020 bragged that they had beaten the United States in a fifth generation war. Fifth generation war doesn't even look like war. The only wars that we had lost until then were really fourth generation resistance wars, authentic indigenous resistance wars, such as Vietnam, such as Somalia. In my view, because I follow the generations of war, concept. So that's the first time we really lost, I think, a fifth generation war. And I don't think all the war fighters and all the veterans, generally speaking, understand that or get that because they've known war, they've known GWAT for 20 years, so they think their version of war is war, and that's just one version of war. It isn't war, and war transforms along with technology and civilization. And the Chinese realized that. And we've been in a 20-year war that the Chinese won. And Trump is the first and only guy to ever counter that unrestricted war, in my view. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for doing that. And not only did he be the first to counter it, but it has worked very well. And that's his tariff wars. Now, they're not really tariffs, technically, and the tariffs against everybody else were window dressing, in my view. And you can see that they kind of faded, but it was really all about China. And it was really all about countering China. Now, the unrestricted war that China has waged is not exactly the smartest war that they've ever run either, because geniuses don't necessarily start wars. They just run them because China has been sending us stuff and we've been selling them our debt. So it's actually not a bad exchange if you think about it. But now they're really in trouble because their economy is teetering. There are banks closing and rioting. The people are leaving factories and rioting. They just beat up a CCP official. Young people are going on social media and bad-mouthing the Communist Party. Chinese communism is teetering the same way Soviet Union communism teetered under Reagan. And it may be Trump's long-term strategy is to become a Reagan and collapse Chinese communism. And let me be clear, I assess, as America's intelligence officer, Chinese communism will collapse. It's a false system. And it could collapse under Trump. And that would put him in a rare category of leadership. Mm-hmm. So that's, to me, is very, very significant that he hasn't gotten the credit he deserves for that.
So fighting their unrestricted, unconventional war. Obviously they know they can't take us on, so they do everything but it. Trump fighting it, does that mean that through tariffs, he's fighting their warfare with the same style of warfare versus you go, oh, they're doing this unconventional thing or unrestricted, we're going to go kinetic because that's the one thing they fear? Or are you saying he's fighting their war with their war? He's doing unconventional back.
No, he's doing fifth generation war.
Okay.
At them.
Okay.
So I've always said this, whether it was my friend Mike Adams or my other friend Michael Yan, is China will not ever attack us kinetically. There's not going to be blue helmeted, UN blue helmeted, Chinese uniform. They're here. They are certainly here. They're already here, just like they're at the Panama Canal.
Sure.
But they've infiltrated positions, but they are not going to take to the streets because once the metrosexual, I've said this many times, once the metrosexual coasts fall, all the homosexuals and metrosexuals in LA and New York, then the hillbillies, rednecks, Indians, bikers, cowboys, briars are going to be behind every rock, and everybody's unified, and China will never hold the ground. Never will they hold the ground. By the same token, if we attack China, we would never hold the ground. No. Ever. It is not possible. And that's why Ukraine is so stupid, by the way. You're never going to take Russia.
No,
Napoleon couldn't take,
no. Hitler, nothing.
and Hitler couldn't. And it's not the Russians; it's the Russian winter that
Yeah,
finishes you.
you know, you can't
Uh,
fight that.
yeah. So when you're going to have an objective, the first thing a real leader goes is, okay, this is the objective. Can we take it? Yeah. Okay. And the next thing is, can we hold it? And if we can't hold it, should we even take it?
It's kind of funny to think about. Maybe that's why China won't stop polluting is they truly believe global warming and it's a way to offset the Russian winter. They want to be the only people to ever beat the Russian winter. That would be that's kind of funny. But yeah, no, both sides seem to know it's an unwinnable thing. So you kind of have to do this weird shadow dance, fifth gen war against one another. To then pivot. So what is the third?
Well, the third is the most important and most dangerous, and that is the deep state war. And that's how he didn't get reelected in 2020. The deep state stole it. And really, what I assessed the deep state said was, yeah, okay, we got Obama in. We recruited him when he was young in Panama, in Pakistan. We went over there with his young Pakistani roommate. Uh, but Obama is well spoken. He looks good. He's charismatic. His first black president. Can we put in a sock puppet? Can we put in somebody with no appeal, nothing, a total zero? Can we just pull it off? Are we that good? And again, that's what I think they did. But again, yeah, you can take it, but can you hold it?
Mm,
Because the whole purpose of military warfare is to take and hold territory. If you can't hold it,
it's
there's really no purpose in taking
it's a
it. But
waste.
people forget these essential things all the time. Just like Korea or Vietnam is, if you're going to win, eventually you have to go on the offensive. You never win on the defense. And all these stupid generals, like all these stupid intelligence professionals, say, we can fight a holding action, and it's bullshit. You learn that as an ROTC cadet. At some point to win, you have to go on the offensive. If you're not going to go on the offensive to take it, you're never going to win. Once you take it, can you hold it? Uh, I mean, this is just basic officership.
Yeah,
This is not rocket science.
yeah.
But today, with all the bullshit, all this stuff gets lost. But Trump has got to fight the deep state war. He has not been doing a very good job at this, and the reason is because we can beat the Chinese, we can beat the Russians, we can beat anybody, we can beat everybody, because the world has never seen the equal of the American fighting man, the American warrior. But what we can't beat is traitors from within.
Hmm.
And the biggest traitors from within are the deep state intelligence community, the Praetorian Guard that picks the presidents, the FBI, the CIA, that sell us out. Ted Gunderson, the FBI agent who said all the major attacks, and I agree with him totally. Were set up by that, and he hasn't been doing a good job at this at all. And you can see Patel and Bongino. So I've been calling Puffery Patel and Blathering Bongino from the beginning. These are actors, media stars playing at law enforcement, and everybody. And I called this early, and when they came out and said with a straight face that Epstein killed himself,
Yeah,
I said, Prather point proven. I called this. My intelligence sources said it was an MI6 assassin for Andrew coming through the vents. So when they say we watched the tapes and nobody comes through the cell door, no, nobody did come through the cell door. But that doesn't mean that somebody didn't come in. And then when they said the subjects are dead, so we're closing the investigation, my head's exploding. Is these are like GS9 junior G men. They know almost nothing, or they have been extorted and paid off. So the FBI, the CIA is clearly running Patel and Bunch, and now they're saying, and I have been saying, stop doing public appearances and do your job. And they actually came out and said, hey, we're not doing public appearances. We're putting together integrity teams. But the FBI is clearly running the deep state, the FBI, CIA is clearly running Patel, Bongino, and Bondi because, again, under Trump, when Trump got out, they convicted him on crap. It was cases that were laughable. They were not real cases, but they convicted him. But once they convicted him, there was a precedent established that was never before done that you could convict a former president of the United States. So there's precedent.
Hmm.
So then if there's precedent and pedo Joe Biden is all over videotape extorting Ukraine officials, fire the official, all kinds of crime, Burisma, all kinds of crime. Hunter bragging he's with the head of Chinese intelligence. When where's the if the precedent's established, the evidence is there, where's the indictments? And so the rule of kings is in effect, and that is kings don't kill kings, because when you kill a king, it doesn't make you a king, it makes you a king killer. And so it's looking like presidents, of course, they indicted him, so I don't know why they're not. Again, I'm very disappointed in Bondi, in Patel, in Bongino, that whole crowd.
What do you think is the explanation for? I mean, is it as simple as here's blackmail on them, you drug them, you get them to sleep with a child? Is it as simple as, here are your kids under a crosshair? It's not even judge, just completely abstract, just looking at it unemotionally, which is hard because they were raping children on an island for blackmail.
Yeah,
What
both
is
of those. It's both of those and probably all of those.
probably
And
more?
what they're saying is the FBI says is, because when I was a D agent, if when I would go on active duty, I would still have my credentials and my gun, and I'd walk into a skiff or whatever because I couldn't be disarmed. There's nobody to disarm me. Nobody has the status, the power to disarm a federal agent. And then of the federal agencies, the hierarchy is the FBI. So the FBI is like, hey, we can get to your bodyguards, your marshals, or your Secret Service, or whomever. They would have to pay for them themselves, as RFK, was doing, and Trump was originally doing. Um, but it could be, yeah, that they've slept with somebody because they were media stars and they're not that smart. Um, all of that could be. Uh, and the Epstein list hasn't come out as well. So the deep state, while we hold the American terrain and the American human terrain, we do not hold the captured, fallen government. The deep state still holds that territory, in my view, and he is not winning that war. His guys are not winning that war. Now he's doing. Now the flip side is Trump is doing amazingly well against the deep state himself because he just went over to the Mideast and he didn't get credit for this either. He went over to the Mideast and he did not go to Israel. He snubbed Israel after Netanyahu delivered the golden pager. And my view of the golden pager was, hey, uh, our assassins are not as incapable as CIA assassins. They may have missed twice, but we can page you.
Yeah,
That's what I think the golden pager was.
it was absolutely a threat.
And so, but Trump does not threaten well. And so Trump snubbed Netanyahu, which is great because he's surrounded by American Christian Zionists, Hegseth in particular, though Hegseth's doing a good job running with the troops, making it lethal, lots of cool stuff, fit, not fat. But Trump goes over to the Middle East, Qatar, and says, we're going to stop these Mideast made up wars and we're going to stop nation building because all we do is replace one dictator with a worse one and make things worse. And you guys have built all this yourselves, not with us, when we're not going to do that anymore. That was a huge declaration. I've had several Mideast experts on my show to confirm that. Huge is we're not going to do that anymore. Well, that does several things. That really deflates the jihadis that can infiltrate America. I had a guest on recently who was saying the jihadis in America would have nothing. They're there, but they're not particularly potent without FBI giving them everything. Because all the cases are entrapment cases where the FBI funds them and plans them and everything. Because, yeah, they're there, but they're not particularly effective. they're going to be now less effective. Jihadis are going to be less effective because of Trump's declaration in this regard. It's also anti-Zionist, that is, putting the state of Israel on a platform, on a pedestal, rather, and making them special. And then finally, it really deflates and defunds the global cabal, deep state intelligence communities who are always fomenting all this stuff overseas. You know, Al Qaeda Peninsula, Yemen, Houthis. Why do we need to be involved with any of that? We don't. And there was one honest CIA analyst a while back said, "We got no interest over there. We got enough oil. We got enough gas. We don't let them kill each other. Who cares?" Which is what Washington would have
It
said.
should have been. It should be that.
Yeah, it should be that. So, in one stroke, by going over there and declaring that, and that has been downplayed by the mainstream media. Why? Because it's controlled by the intelligence community and big pharma, which is a vector of the intelligence community. That he said that, and so that's huge because the Houthis were having a good time drone swarming the aircraft carriers, and then you sink a couple of aircraft carriers, and military industrial complex gets to build more aircraft carriers and send more aircraft carriers over to get sunk. Uh, you know, because that is a low cost fourth generation, fifth generation war where they're using it's a fourth generation movement, but it's a because it's indigenous, but it's a fifth generation technology of drones against aircraft carriers, which you can't really lose that. You just keep hitting them
Yeah.
and doing stuff while they're spending millions, every day. So really, that was a major defunding source of the deep state, of jihadis, and of the Zionists. And Trump deserves a lot of credit for that. And then the other one was Trump really working to end the Ukraine war. There are significant truces and treaties moving ahead with that. Putin just doesn't want Ukraine in NATO. He doesn't want Ukraine moving east. That was promised a long time ago. He's not asking for anything new. He's not going to give back the territories, but those negotiations are moving forward. And I think that while Zelensky was run by the CIA, obviously, I don't think he is run now. I think Zelensky's on his own. Zelensky realizes that as long as he keeps the war going, he's okay. Because killing him while the war is still going would be inflammatory. So he has value. But once the war is ended, once he reinstates elections, he's not even the legitimate president anymore. He suspended elections. He shouldn't even be the president anymore. But once the war is over, or there's a truce, or he's no longer president, then I think he's going to be Epstein pretty quickly because he knows way
Oh
too
no,
much.
he's done. No, he. It's the meme, right? Saddam, Gaddafi, Bin Laden. It's what did Henry Kissinger say? It's dangerous to be an ally. It's lethal to be, or it's dangerous to be an enemy. It's lethal to be an ally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. 72 servings per pail, 25 years shelf life. I've had the owner Clayton on the show before. He's a God-fearing, America-loving patriot. Get one of these, get a couple of them, throw them in your basement. It's good to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. If you don't want to do that, you can get their seeds. You can plant your own garden, so you don't even have to keep buying them. You can just get the goods and start your own, or you can even get freeze-dried fruits and vegetables like bananas, apples, strawberries, and raspberries. They support the show. It's an honest product. It's a good safety measure to have, and they keep my show free for you. So I'd implore you guys to please go to heavensharvest.com, use the link in the description, promo code TPC. Axios Fitness Coaching is a premium resource for holistic strength and conditioning services. Axios is best known for the Training Club, capital T, capital C, an exclusive community that prioritizes accountability, technique, diet, and nutrition. Everything you need to do to take action against the decay of the modern world. Whether you're looking to improve your physique, build strength, or just take care of your health and fitness, Axios will provide you with the solution that is effective and simple to execute. All you need to do is complete the intake survey, and you can see if you're a good candidate for the training club or any other of the services. And it's going to sponsor the show, so One company falls off, another one arises. So if you guys like the show, you want to work out, throw the show a couple shekels. Go take the survey. Thank you so much, guys.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a blue room soon. www.blueroom.com.
Anyway, that's the summation of those are the three wars that Trump is fighting. And, like all wars, it goes back and forth. There is progress being made on all of those fronts. But the most serious war is the deep state war, because if he doesn't continue to fight that and progress that, then they're going to come after him. And his guys are not doing it. He's doing it, but his guys are not doing it at all. And that has to be, and again, they all tie together. But I'm delineating them out as three-pronged approaches. And this has almost nothing to do with conventional forces, almost nothing. And that's fine because, I didn't mind going, but I do mind watching young guys and gals go for stupid stuff and to die in vain. If you're going to sacrifice yourself, then make it worthwhile. And I think Trump is very serious about that. I think he said that very clearly. And I've now told all my young students, under Pedo Joe, I said, no, don't join the military. Don't. It's clown show. It's a tranny show, and plus he'll leave you to die. Now I'm saying, hey, if you want to be like me and follow in your dad's footsteps, now's the time. Trump will not spend you callously or carelessly. I mean, it'll be tough, and things will go wrong, but it should be worth it now. So that's the perspective. And I don't hear, maybe I'm wrong, but you can tell me, I don't hear anybody else really talking about that the way I'm talking about it.
No, I'd say not quite on the same, not on the same way. The only, I guess, parallel talking would be my buddy EM Burlingame on talking about the similarities between Trump and MBS in terms of kind of routing out their own deep states. That's kind of in parallel with what you're talking about. It seems what you said, the three prongs. It seems like the first and second are below the third. If you don't take out the deep state, the cartels, whatever, these will arise again. It seems like that's the heart. That's the genesis. That's like the core where all the bacteria is coming from. If you don't kill that, it will come back in time.
Yeah.
And
no, I've had EM on. I think he's a little more cynical than I am.
Sure.
Because I think I'm more faith-filled than he, but I'll have him back on to talk.
Yeah.
It's an interesting perspective about kingdoms as well. But yeah, like I said, we can beat anybody. We can beat the cartels. We can beat China. The deep state is the real problem. And the deep state needs to be cut back. And, here's another example of the Bongino Patel fakery and frackery is a while back they were saying, this is in one of my Substacks, is Bongino's like staged interviewing Patel, and like Patel said, "Hey, I'm shutting down FBI headquarters." And Bongino's, "Wow, wow, you're shutting down FBI headquarters. That's a big breaking story here." So and of course, I've been to FBI headquarters many times. I go back and show the timeline of 2013 is where they decide that they're going to shut down FBI headquarters. And then every year there's a progression. 2014, 16, they're finding the new headquarters. Then they finally find the new headquarters, but they're also going to give them a downtown headquarters. So they're actually not giving him, they're giving him two new headquarters, and bigger than the last headquarters. And the Gateway pundit is like, look, Patel's shutting down FBI headquarters, and they're reassigning agents, and just a complete and obvious misrepresentation by Bongino and Patel of what's going on.
It kind of, and I've never even seen the full movie, but it does make me think of Catch Me If You Can with DiCaprio, where he's just no, not was it Catch Me If You Can, where what's the one where he fakes everything? I think it was where he's like a doctor and a lawyer and a
Yeah,
whatever.
that's it.
It's
Yeah,
when he fakes his way into being a doctor, which is that's not the thing to fake at, and like he's finally in there, and they're like, "What do you think, doctor?" And he just goes, "I concur," because
yeah.
you really can't. I mean, you don't know how to do surgery. It kind of makes me think like this is almost like a shitty skit of like Bongino and Patel have just been talking so much smack for so many
They do.
years,
They
and
are.
now you're there, and you're like,
They are. I
what?
have not been impressed with either of them for a
No,
long time ever. I mean, way back. Now, who's interesting is Ezra Cohen Watnick. Um,
yeah,
he had disappeared again.
no. I
Uh,
remember he gave that speech. Sorry to interrupt. I remember he had given. I don't know why I remembered it. It was late 2020. I had watched, and he was giving a speech talking about Trump following in JFK's footsteps and removing like the foreign paramilitary capabilities from the CIA. I remember watching that on YouTube, and there's like 1,000 views. I was like, how is this not front page news? I just remember his name from there.
yeah, I think I outed him as a Q leader inside because Barr was going to indict him, and maybe it didn't happen because I outed him. I don't know. And a lot of people certainly sit back and watch the popcorn was a psyop to get everybody not to do
It's
anything.
the right move. Yeah.
But I think Watnick is an interesting figure because he submerges and then he appears in DOD and Intel and
Didn't Trump
DOJ.
name him like deputy director of the NSA?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen him come back,
I'm
but he's an interesting figure
gonna
because
Google
he's
that.
not a talker.
So about Bongino and Patel, it's I understand it's easy. I'm 34. I'm not in that office. I understand it's easy. I don't have kids, and I don't have, they're not handing me an envelope with their faces under like a thermal scope. I understand. I know that I don't know. My problem is having on someone like you or Dale or Clay, and you have them saying like, yes, this is an incredibly lethal fight, and there's a very good chance you will die, but that's a noble death. You are walking in Christ's path. My problem isn't that they're not doing something. I get it. It's got to be, yeah. You're going up against whoever's doing Epstein. But man, the issue is you've talked this shit for 10 years. It's not like they grabbed Bob off the street and they're like, hey, take over the FBI and find out who did Epstein. He's like, huh? Like, you have these guys who specifically have been saying, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then Trump wins. I mean, the mandate of heaven, and you're in. And you do nothing. And not only do you do nothing, you actually go out and say Epstein killed himself. That is my issue. Is you knew all along it was going to be a fight against evil itself. I mean, it is the sexual intercourse of children on an island. You can't get more. It's not some vague like, well, I don't know that Vietnamese farmer fighting back and he's defending his family. It is so. All of life is a gray area except this.
Yep.
Except this, where even hey, World War II, I get it. You're firebombing. It's like, hey man, war is hell. I get that. This is not that. This is it is the destruction of innocence to go in there and then to come out on camera and say, "I've seen the files. He killed himself."
Well, what they said was, we've been briefed. Well, who the hell briefed you? The guys who covered it up in the first. I mean, my head exploded when I heard this stuff. Because
I've been briefed.
Bongino
They said it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I've been
was
briefed.
so, Bongino was in 1811, like me. Now, he doesn't have my experience. He did a lot of headquarters time, a lot of training experience time. And Patel was a U.S. attorney or AUSA or something. But the statements they were making were so stupid and ludicrous and lazy. But, they also don't have Trump's intellect or wisdom or work ethic, because while Trump won because he just got out there so much. He worked harder than everybody else. He worked harder than the deep state, because the fake machines were still, running. The machinery was all in place, but it was so obvious that it was just too big to rig. Through Trump's work ethic and intelligence and wisdom, they do not have that. They ran their media shows and basked in there and say, "I'm going to do this and I'm going to." They did not have a plan. So I'll tell you how, because I always don't just want to criticize,
That's offer
and
a
I can
solution.
speak to this because I worked in this area. If somebody came in with photos of my kids or something, uh, the first thing I'm saying is, so do you really want to threaten somebody like me, like this, with my connections in intelligence, in special operations, in retired special operations, and in federal law enforcement? Do you really think this is a good plan? Because if something happens to my kids, I become a Geronimo. So Geronimo, original name in Inde and Apache was Guyatle, was yawner, meaning he was sleepy. I mean, sitting by the fire, he wasn't really paying attention to the elders. He was kind of falling asleep. That was his original name. When they first killed his first wife and children, the Mexicans killed his first wife and children, he was angry. And then when the Americans killed his second wife and children, he became Geronimo. And so my question would be, do you really want to turn me into where my whole mission in life with my contacts and my skill sets? Because I lectured at the farm. I trained at Quantico. I trained all you guys.
Yeah.
And I got nothing now to lose. Do you really want that? Do you really want to fulfill that threat? And, I've told my family that's one reason why, they don't come after him. Another thing would be something comes in, photograph comes in, that you put your guys that you've handpicked, because everybody has guys that they trust.
Yeah.
I have an inner circle on that, and then you start following that up, and that's terrorism, right? They're instilling terror, and you build it that way, and you cut it down. If you can't eliminate CIA and FBI, then you cut it back to the nubs and the budget down to nothing, so that you got guys who are really doing it not for the money, but because they really believe in it. It's just like the Holocaust, not Holocaust, but the Jewish Museum in D.C. The two Israeli officials that were killed were actually Messianic Jews, and it was right down the street from the Washington field office, the FBI Washington field office, after Trump snubs the Israelis and doesn't go. And I'm supposed to believe that that's not a setup.
Yeah.
That's not another false flag. So what we're going to
That's
see,
horseshit.
what we're going to see is more domestic FBI false flags, I think, because they're being canalized from OCONUS to CONUS false flags. And that's the bad news of what's happening. And Bongino and Patel and Bondi seem totally incapable of the positions they're in and don't understand that. And the first time around, Trump admitted he had a lot of faith in these institutions that, and still American people, this is reinforced by every TV show, every movie that comes out. I just saw this on Lioness. Um, uh, have you seen Lioness on Apple?
No.
It's a female CIA case officer on a paramilitary team with Delta, and she's running around like, and what's his name? The guy who started Yellowstone is in there. He does a pretty good job. Uh, but the idea is that she's as capable as the guys. There's females in Delta. There was females in the special mission unit that I was in, but they're not the pipe hitters. That's not their
No.
purpose. The purpose is to walk around. One of the purposes is to walk around with a guy in a site surveillance, because a guy and a gal parked someplace, you know, is understandable, where two guys could get you executed
Yeah.
in some countries. But they beat up, they captured, they kidnapped and beat up a DEA agent in the show, and I'm like, and they're supposed to be the good. I'm like, Kiki Camarena, do you see, CIA Felix Rodriguez, CIA there, Hector Boreas, the D agent, there, and you have no awareness of this, because the myth making of CIA and FBI as these good guys, as opposed to clowns, in actions, is just still so pervasive.
Well, why
So that's
wouldn't
my
you
big
if you had
my big complaint.
and I had pulled up earlier when I had my phone up. I always make sure to. I never want the guests to think I'm playing with my fucking phone. Ezra Watkins, acting under Secretary of Defense for Intelligence in November 2020. I thought he had been named to something. I guess. I guess not. I guess I'm an idiot. Wait.
No, I imagine he's doing something. We're just not hearing about it. But what I'm saying there is, that's an example of a doer, not a talker.
Yeah. And it's, and again, I'm 34 years old with a biology degree to do a podcast. I understand I'm talking out of my ass in almost everything I do. So I always try to preface it with like that huge asterisk. But by the time you're threatening someone, kids, family, whatever, the person making that threat is not in a position of foundational stability. The fact that you're resorting to that, and not only that, well, you can't use that threat again if you go through with it. So
That's what I'm saying.
If it's okay. You kill the kids, kill the wife. Okay, what now do you have against the person? You're gonna kill them? You've already taken their family. They're gonna go insane. And my logic has also always been, if they are threatening to kill your kids, let's just use that as a placeholder. Kill your kids. The reason they're using a threat is to prevent you from doing XYZ. XYZ has to be something that is equal or greater to killing your kids. So you might, I don't know, threaten, let's say, fictional director of the CDC, Bob Smith, and you go, if you tell anyone about this pandemic we're releasing, we're going to kill your family. You go, holy shit. If they're willing to threaten to kill your family, chances are the thing that they're doing, that they're covering up, a pandemic, will probably kill your family and more. And again, it's very easy for me to say, but I've always assumed by the time they're threatening to kill your family, the subsequent thing is probably going to kill your family.
No,
and
you're
everyone
right.
else's family.
And to carry this further, so again, if somebody came to me and I was in an official government position and made that opaque or indirect subtle threat, and I was CIA or FBI, I would have them detained right then. If I was a civilian like I am now, I would surveil them, and then something might happen to them later on.
Absolutely.
But I would not simply be passive about it, because I've thought these things through. But Patel and Bongino are too busy blathering on their shows, and they haven't thought these. So they could. I'm sure they have a core who would love to see, because when I was in DA, I was like, I hated to see it what it turned into, and there were some good guys and some good gals, but of course, the evil ones were taken over. So there's a way to do all this, and you can follow them. you can detain him, uh, especially in the intelligence community. People get detained without initial appearances, forever. We just saw that with all the J6ers happen as well. So there's ways to do this. They just aren't really committed. The most committed wins in the fight. And if you're going to get in a fight like this, it's kind of like Sean Connery in The Untouchables. What are you prepared to do?
Hmm.
You have seen The Untouchables.
I have not.
Oh my God!
Dude, I haven't
Okay.
seen like any movie.
Oh, so go watch The Untouchables with Sean Connery and the story of, because it's The Untouchables about going after the bootleggers back in the day. That's real cool, but uh, but that fight is a winnable fight. You've just got to be willing to stand up, and usually they'll back down. Just like China, as soon as China got finished talking tough, and Trump then upped the ante again, what did China do? They started talking. Um, that's very, very typical. If you study conflict, apex predators don't want to fight each other ever. There's mechanisms, for that. That's why wolves and dogs will lay down and give their belly and give their throat. And China, clearly did that with Trump. Trump called their bluff. But you got to have the stones, to do that stuff. You got to have the moral fortitude and commitment. And Patel and Bongino don't, because they're talkers. That's how they're so popular on talk shows. They talk a lot.
Man, it's one thing. It's one thing to be threatened. What is your? I mean, truly, you die. Can you even look God in the eyes when he's like, it's not only that I get you're threatened. You're the head of the FBI and you bend over. Like, what more do you? That'd be like if I went to a bar and somebody started messing with me and I capitulated and I was with Dale. Dale would be like, I'm right here. Like, I would have helped you. To me, that is it's like a Mike Pence level treachery. I mean, like Judas biblical. Like, dude, children on an island. You're the head of the FBI. You've made these claims. Trump's in office. You are at the leading edge of this wave. And you're refusing to do anything. I mean, I don't. At what point does Trump replace them then?
Well, if I was Trump, I'd replace him now. But Trump has not done enough, and this is the problem with these guys, is they have a constellation staff around them that affects. There's a membrane that all the information flows through that is slanted, however that constellation staff wants it to be. My stuff is different because I do it all myself. Every show is 4 to 5 hours of intelligence gathering. That's just the job. If you're a real intelligence officer, that's the job. If you've seen Midway, the new Midway, where Leighton's, working all kinds of hours, that's the real job, because you're trying to keep your guys alive. You might find one more thing. So, I would replace him, but he hasn't done a deep enough dive to see, because he's a media guy too, but he should be the media guy, not Bongino and Patel and Bondi. It should all just be Trump, but he would have to have a deeper dive into who the workers really are. For example, what's the general who did the action in Iraq? General with a P. So anyway, when I got activated by DIA for Petraeus. So second Gulf War comes along, I get activated. We win that conventional war really fast in the first 3 weeks, and then instead of coming out with their hands over their heads with their rifles again like the first Gulf War, because nobody fights the next war like the last war, but everybody thinks the last war is going to be like the next war. Stupidity. They fade and it turns into an insurgency. There's like 3 of us majors at DIA headquarters who are military intelligence branch, but special forces backgrounds. And we're like, this is an insurgency now. The conventional war is over. This just turned into insurgency. And so we're trying to push that up to the DNI over at Bowling, saying everything has changed now. So you've got to change your tactics right now. We were unsuccessful at that. And so, because if you try and fight an insurgency war, like a conventional war, you're helping them. It's like squishing mercury. Well, Petraeus comes along after much blood loss and treasure loss. Petraeus comes along and say, "Hey, it's an insurgency. We got to get the troops out and living with the villages," and he does that. Well, he actually didn't do that. There was a special forces major named Major Gant that was his doctrine. I don't know if you know who that is. We can look him up. That actually came up with that, and then Petraeus adopted that. But the point here is you got to drill down. And Trump was making an effort. He was drilling down to colonels, lieutenant colonels, majors, forgetting the general officer class, because almost all generals are politicians, and not worth their stars. Very few. General Boykin, who I knew, Delta Force commander, one of the few real generals I really, and I know General Flynn, but most of them are politicians. They're not worth anything in particular. You got to drill down to the lower ranks, the guys who are still doing the job. And you really won't see them because they're not in the limelight. They're not in the forefront. And I think Trump really tried to do that a bit, but he went with a lot of media stars. I was really disappointed to see how many media stars. Now, he did do one thing right, and that was he went after people who had been attacked by the deep state. So that was a good filter. That was a good filter to get. But just being attacked doesn't make you good at attacking. No. It just means you're good at being attacked.
Yeah, it means at the very least you understand that, but you want the guy that fights back.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So again, somebody like me, there were people, there was a small group saying get Prather in there, and my family was like, no. But if I was called, I have a plan for all of that. Just like I think Trump has a plan for all of that. For what if somebody threatens my family, or what if we get photos or something, or whatever that is, you have to have plans for all that stuff. And I don't think Patel and Bongino and Bondi bothered with any of that, because I don't think they have Trump's intellect. I don't think they have his work ethic. I don't think they have his wisdom, and he's delegated that out to the wrong people. There are the right people there, not saying I'm one of them by any means. I'm an old guy, but they're there, but you got to delve down and find them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. You did. I think he said that when he went on Rogan. He was like, the good generals. He's like, not the ones you see on TV. He's like the good ones that can actually get things done. Yeah, it's I can only hope that he learned a lot from his first term. Man, I hope he's got like a framed picture over, his on his like bathroom vanity of just like him being shot at. I hope you remember, like, hey man, they tried to blow your head off on live TV. Yeah. Nothing is off the table for them, and nothing should be off the table for you. This isn't 2016 and we got to worry about re-election. No. Invade That's Mexico. Right. Like I don't there's nothing, it's we're at the end. Fourth quarter, man. Super Bowl. You got to go for it.
The FBI cover-ups of Butler are ridiculous. That the body, I don't even think Crooks fired a shot, but the body stays up there all night. Then they wash off the roof, just like they burn it, Waco, evidence destruction, on camera, and nothing happens with any of this. They are clearly run. They are clearly run and clearly controlled. And as long as that's happening, you're not going to get control of it. And he should certainly, you're right, understand that. Now, maybe he's playing some kind of long game of letting them hang themselves. That could be.
Perhaps.
Because the public outcry, because there is a pincer movement there of Trump moving forward, of public outcry after that came out, because everybody was praising Patel and Bongino except me. And now they know the truth about them, and so now they're being pushed to do something. But there's plenty of prosecutable cases that could be brought easily today, and some of the state's attorney generals are doing what Bondi's not doing. I've been pushing that. There are several states going after Fauci and others as well. So maybe he's doing that to just let public opinion turn. But I don't think he has the bandwidth to focus on that, although he certainly should, because they've just run out of competent assassins. That's all. It's not that they wouldn't do it again. It's just
Yeah.
that their human capital pool is way down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Trump is a larger than life character, but he is but a man. He is, and I try to have some, empathy or understanding with. He is just a dude. You sit down with him, he's probably sitting there. So, I'm like, man, I had on Dr. McCall before this, and I had to wrap that one up and had on Prather, and he's like, yeah, there's 19 missing nukes on the East Coast. I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. Like, I try to have some empathy with that. And also, it kind of comes back to put your faith in God, not in a man.
Yep, that's right.
But for right now, Mr. Prather, let's wrap this up. Yeah, for everybody listening, please go in the description. Please go follow him. Please go follow his podcast. Please go and please, offer him some prayers with your home incident a couple months ago. And yeah, what am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something.
JeffreyPrather.com, the chaplaincy, ChristChaplaincy.com. Join us there. And, thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude.
And I hope this was helpful. And I want to get this message out because
Yeah.
I don't think people are aware of it.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, it does seem to be a three-prong. I mean, and it is only May 2025. He's still got some time. I'm just, yeah, Patel and Bongino, man, that's some like Mike Pence level betrayal of, I can't even really be mad at him. I just look at him and I just shake my head and I'm like, what are you? How do you look in the mirror, man? How do you? I don't know. We need to get Dale in there. Dale needs to be sack death. That'll fix it. But for right now, Mr. Prather, always it's an honor to have you on here, man. Your faith is always inspiring, and I do appreciate it. And I think you're a good role model for others, and I do look up to you, and I appreciate knowing you. So thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks for having me, Tommy. God
Yes,
bless.
sir. God bless. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please go follow his podcast. It's much better than mine. And till next time, Mr. Prather, thank you so much.